impact there. And that brings me to a very important point, I think, as far as teaching downswing. This is something that I see it all over the internet, and guys are trying to get, because the pros are all like this, and the shoulders and the hips. Half of your students, 3/4 of your students can't do that. I've been very successful with teaching the downswing from the top of the backswing by basically getting them to keep their hips closed. Okay? Make a little shift to the left, which is going to allow the shoulders to stay closed and allow the club to shallow out. Okay? And everybody's like, well, you're not getting any power. You're going to get power because you're still going to rotate and post through impact. Okay? But what do you see your students do? They're all doing this. Right? They're all spinning from the top. I call them spinners. Now you're spinning, you're not bumping and dropping. So as we come down, if you can get them to shift, right? Because if you don't get them to shift, you're going to have them hit behind it. They can never get the low point. So as they come down, they've got to make a shift forward, and that allows them to really pull the handle down and drop the hands to the inside so they can hit from the inside. These are for you guys that are spinning over the top.
Hogan said that in his book, didn't he? A little separation in the knees.
Absolutely, and that's it. I think Hogan, because he was shallow and trying to hit cuts. See, he talked about the hips going like this, and he really didn't do that because he was already on his left side anyway.
Right.
So he already had the shift taken care of. It's kind of what the little S&T did. So he's just trying to get this thing out of the way. But for the average player, they better get over this left side. They're never going to get low point. Right? Low point is, when I'm talking about low point, I'm talking about the bottom of the circle as the club ascends and goes left. That is typically right underneath your left shoulder. Okay? This is why good players, you'll see them take 2 to 4 inch divots in front of the golf ball, right? You can share that with your students and they'll get that. Especially when we talk about pivot. I think that's nice. There you go, body motion. This is where I really changed some of my teaching due to S&T, MORAD, some of these guys, the golfing machine that really wants the head to stay pretty steady. I used to always let my students get a little bit of kind of a half head positive pivot, right? So 3 types of pivots. You got negative pivots, okay? S&T doesn't quite get that far as you would think, but if you say that's a reverse pivot. You got neutral pivots, and you got positive pivots where you let the spine increase a little bit to the right. So you got a guy that's trying to hit it solid, all right? We're trying to get low point in front of the golf ball. I think it's pretty hard for them to hit it if they're back here. If their head's moving, their spine gets too far behind the golf ball, and then they're trying to drive and drop, they're going to increase their secondary spine angle, and you're going to have a tough time getting them. They're going to hit a lot of shots straight, but they're going to drop kick a bunch too. So I've really been working, especially with my better players. Again, matching components is key here, guys. Is when you got somebody that's got a pretty good downswing playing in the shallow, this is perfect. Because I got one tour player I work with, and he hits the ball really straight, but he struggles with a little bit of a cup left wrist of impact. And as soon as I got him pivoting with a little more centeredness, and he feels like he's way over here, and again, feeling real is different. And basically I call it a neutral pivot, steeper shoulder plane, a little bit more centered, then you start hitting the ball more solid. It's unbelievable. We moved his low point that far forward and allowed him to hit the ball a lot more solid. Does that make sense? So if you're too far back, kind of your Jimmy Ballard deal, right? You've got to shift, turn, and hit. I just think for the average player, it's pretty tough. So I'm not going to let them move a whole lot. Now, your less flexible guys are not going to be able to do this because you get them, you say, I want the left shoulder to go down a little bit, a little steeper shoulder plane. They'll never be able to stay. They're always going to be up here. So you're going to have to let them move behind it a little bit to get some power, for sure. For better players, some flexibility. That's changed my game big time as far as getting people to hit solid. And that's one good thing you can talk about S&T is they can get them in front of the ball for sure. So they got those guys going this way. COG goes this way. Of course, then they get a better contact. Not real crazy about the driving swing though. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me yet, but it's something that can help you put some of those pieces in there, matching up the different styles. Impact alignments. I think it's critical when we talk about D-plane. And the ball flight law is that you explain to people that impact is forward leaning shaft, because most of I just did it, my latest video was on impact and how I teach impact. I didn't bring an impact bag, but I basically have 3 steps. I get them up to the top, get their little shift. As they come down, I'll get their hands over the left leg. Then I'll have them pop the bag a couple times. Then I'll have them go ahead and hit it full, boom. And then I'll have them back up and hit a shot. So it's kind of like I do a lot of interval training. All right, you better read the talent code. Ever heard of it? Get that book. Talent code is a game changer for sure. Talk about deep practice, chunking things down into small segments for your students. Basically a book about this guy that went around the world trying to figure out how these different communities and different places and countries were creating elite athletes. And it was the difference in how they practiced. So very, very important. So a couple little things, just drill, let them hit a shot. Drill, let them hit a shot. But I think it's important, I don't care if it's a beginner or an experienced player, is I never assume that they understand impact. Okay? I want to show them that, okay, yeah, I'll put them in that position. Forward leaning shaft, left hip a little bit open, the shoulder's pretty square, and point out the left wrist should be flat, or the trail wrist should be a little bit flat. So that's very important, because most people you're going to say, well, show me impact. It's kind of a cool thing when you give them the first lesson. Usually they're going to say something like, I'm trying to get it back to address. I'm trying to scoop it up in the air. You get a lot of different answers for that. But I'm telling you, if you can get them understanding impact, because it's a very difficult thing to work on because it happens so fast, and we know that. But if we got the thing coming down a decent plane, the face is where we want it. Last step is to get them understanding impact. Give them some drills. I have a lot of my students do punch drills. Boom, just hitting shots, being able to hold the shaft, control the angle a little bit. I also, for my newer players, this is a article that I just wrote for Golf Illustrated. I write full-time for Golf Illustrated, coming out in June, called Hands and Arms University. If you look in Hogan's book, speaking of Hogan's book, on page 102, he describes the forearm rotation of the left arm. Right? So one of the things that I believe that the reason people scoop it a lot of times is because, one, they're not very coordinated in their offside, their left arm. Because everybody talks about Hogan trying to hit, wish he had 5 hands or 5 arms or whatever. Well, just below that, he talks about the left arm and the left hand is very important too. You have to hit hard with both hands. So I give my students a lot of left arm only drills for the right-handed players. That was a big thing that changed my teaching. I saw Mike Malaska at a teaching seminar have one of these, and he said, even my tour players, I get them to, you get people to scoop it. They can see this a lot easier than they can see a club face. So you show them that, you get the grip on there, and you say, okay, I need the back of your left forearm to rotate, the back of your left hand to turn down. A lot of tour players, so they feel like they can catch rain, right? So then they go, oh wow, so that's it, right? So there it is. It's not a hook move. If they're hooking it, then they're flipping it. The face closes too soon, that's a hook move. This is a de-lofting move, as I'll tell them. Turn the knuckles down, let the forearms rotate, fold the left arm. Just simple stuff like that. So I'll get them hitting shots left arm only. Johnny Miller used to hit left arm only shots all the time. He could hit like 160 yards with a 7-iron. I remember reading that. I mean, he was ahead of his time. Pretty good ball striker too. Right? John Daly, I think, started doing that a little bit. I don't think he knew what he was doing, but he was doing something. So anyways, a lot of this stuff here, then I'll get him into a claw drill. Put the right hand right on top of there. And if you want to see impact change, and I tested all this stuff on video. I didn't just throw it out there. I was like, man, got a guy that had the backward leaning shaft, right leg impact. Take his right hand out of it. Teach him how to rotate his left arm. Next thing you know, the shaft's leaning forward like 4 degrees. I was like, wow, I'm onto something here. So it's pretty cool to see them when they start to feel compression into the golf ball. Back line. Okay. So as I said before, we've got all this stuff. you've got, you know, what you're teaching, or whether you're just trying to promote your club or your course, you're trying to get more golfers, you know, the social media marketing is so huge. And I think you've got to know where to go and then what to do with it and how to use it. And that takes time. I'm not a genius by any means. I just sort of, you know, fooled my way around it and got some really smart friends and knew where to go. But I started reading some books. I read Gary Vaynerchuk. You guys ever heard of that guy? Crazy wine guy. That was one of the first guys that got me into social media. He wrote a book called Crush It a couple of years ago. It was fabulous. It gives you just a blueprint of everywhere you should go and what you should do. And he just came out with a new book called The Thank You Economy. It just came out last week. I just got that. So he basically took his mom and pop's wine and liquor store from kind of a dive and put it on the internet, created his own show on YouTube called Wine Library TV, turned it into a $6 million deal. And the guy's speaking all over the place now. He's trying to buy Gary Vaynerchuk. Vaynerchuk. Crush it.
Talking about a great.
Yeah, I don't think it's just like basically you doing your passion. Okay. So I went and saw this guy's show. I'm like, this guy, you know, got a good personality. And, I'm not the greatest speaker in the world. And I said, well, you know, I could probably do that. So I started basically doing these videos, and I'll talk about how I got into social media a little bit. As I got back from Charlie's seminar, I said, well, man, we got to do something different. Right? We can't. The days of sitting around the shop or around the club waiting for the phone to ring are over. All right, it's not. You know, people aren't walking through our door anymore. They're not walking onto my lesson tee. So you've got to learn to communicate better with your customers and also gathering fruit from new markets. So I said, well, I got to do something different. So I started an email tip. This is how it evolved. And I've got the greatest students in the world. They'll tell me what they need. I mean, it's real. If you listen to your customers, they will tell you what they need. So they said, man, that's great. I'm loving to get your emails every week. You know, throw a little tip in there that'll help you. I throw in there when I'm available. Because they don't, I mean, they might be thinking about you, but until you get in front of them, they're not going to pull the trigger and call the office. So then I started hooking up a video of another tour player. Just got it off YouTube, whatever I'm trying to display to them, what that is. And they said, well, man, that's really cool, but it would be great if you were doing the video. So I went, aha, maybe I got something here, right? So I said, I have no idea how to shoot a YouTube video, so I went out and I said, all right, I'm going to shoot this video. And then I hooked it up, and I said, well, shoot, I need somewhere to house this thing, right? Not just YouTube, so you got the YouTube channel. So I said, well, then I started blogging. Right? I love to write, and I'm writing my first book right now. And I love to write, so I said, well, this would be great practice. I can share my ideas with my students. And it was all about my students. It had nothing to do with like everybody else I thought was going to read this stuff. So I started doing that, so you can put your videos on your blog, right, or on your website, or whatever. So I drive traffic from the blog to our website, Damon Raiders. And then I have my YouTube channel, which is basically creating views, and then people are leaving comments, and then I have everything hooked up there. So as soon as I do a video, it goes to Facebook, it goes to Twitter, it goes to my blog. So this is basically the whole thing. So why should you be there? Because everybody's there, right? I can't believe anybody's getting any work done. You guys see how much people are on Facebook? I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I'm not on there till the evening when I get home. But I'm like, how in the world do these people have time to be doing updates on Facebook and looking at videos and all this stuff? It's amazing. But everybody's on Facebook, and now people are starting to understand. Twitter's 5 years old. I can't believe. I mean, I only found this 2 years ago. It's 5 years old. I'm looking for the next Twitter. So what tools she just told you? Facebook, Twitter. I mean, there's so many more, but I can't do it all. I mean, I'm trying to stay married as I do all this stuff, because I'm on the computer way too much. But the tools are important. But you know, focus on 2 or 3. I mean, if you don't have a Facebook business page in your club, you're crazy. I mean, that's the new email.